Hey, my name is Yasmina and welcome back to my channel. I make weekly videos here on this channel all about books, book recommendations, and the publishing world, so if that sounds like something interesting to you, please stay tuned and click that subscribe button. In today's video, I want to give you a tutorial on how to format your book for print and ebook with Vellum specifically. So I discovered Vellum quite a few years ago and I was very reluctant to buy it at first because it is a little bit on the pricey side for a formatting software, but at some point I just caved in because it really is the best in the industry for formatting. And so I'm not affiliated with Vellum in any way, but I will leave a link obviously to the software down below in the description. And please watch this video if you think Vellum might be for you, or if you're not familiar at all with Vellum and you want to know what it can do. I will show you on screen how to format a novel from scratch with Vellum. And just to give you an idea, this is a book that I formatted with Vellum. This is my book, or a proof copy of my book. This is not the final cover or anything, but I formatted the interior completely with Vellum and I think it turned out beautifully. So if you want to see more of how this turned out, I will link a unboxing video of the first time I received this book in the box, and I talk a lot about it there. It's beautiful and it looks like a traditionally published book, which I think is the point. And so this is what I was able to create with Vellum, and I will show you how I did that step by step in the on-screen tutorial that will begin now. Alright, so here we are at my computer and we are going to take a look at Vellum. So this is what it looks like when you first boot it up. Now, as you can see, I already have a lot of documents for my Hunting Vienna book that I showed you in the beginning, but we'll start this with a new document and I will show you every step of the way. And just so you're aware, we're going to go through these things today. So an overview of Vellum, how to do a title page, how to do a full image title page, copyright page, dedication page, content page. This is for ebook specific. Then all the chapters, headers, paragraphs, ornamental breaks, inserting images, how to do headers and footers, how to do body text, so all of the settings for that. Then acknowledgements page, about the author page, and then print settings, so font size, margins, trim sizes, and then how to generate all the files that you need at the end. So first things first, we are going to import a Word file, and that is the file that you want to work with, and that is Vellum tutorial, which I created specifically for this video. Welcome to Vellum. As you can see, it is split into two main screens. You have the content over here and you have the preview on the right side. And now the cool thing is you can change the preview. So right now it shows the preview of how we would look like on a Kindle Fire. You can also change it so that it looks like a Kindle Paperwhite, or an iPad, or an iPhone, or Android tablet, and of course, print. Isn't that cool? I think that is very cool. Then over here on the very left side, we have all of the content from your document, and Vellum already splits it up for you from the start, depending on what it thinks it's supposed to be split by. Now, of course, you can change this if it's not right, but for example, it can auto-detect, where it says chapter 1 and chapter 2 and split those chapters accordingly. If for some reason it messes up, and I have had cases where it was a little bit off, it thought a chapter began somewhere where it shouldn't have, it's easy to correct. You just basically, this is an editor, so you can change things here if you want. Now, if for some reason you do not like the preview window, you can always close it and you're just seeing the edit one. You can close the navigator as well, but I prefer seeing all three. I think that makes the most sense, but you do you. The only other thing you need to know here is these two buttons, the generate button and the show button. So the generate button is what you need to actually generate the files, but we will do that later. Let's start with the basic information for your book. As you can see, you are given very simple options, the title of your book, the subtitle of your book, the author. If you have any other contributors, you can add them here, what language the book is in, and the ISBN for the ebook if you have it. You can also upload your ebook cover here. Now, I will just, as an example, open and insert the cover that I showed you in the beginning of the video for what the test proof of my book actually was. So this is the cover that I created for the book. It's not going to be the final cover. For cover specific specifications, this is not that video. I suggest you look up that somewhere else. I will also make videos about how to design your book covers in the future, but for now, if you have a cover, you can upload it here. If you don't have a cover, go get a cover first and make it a good one. Very important tip. All right, once that's done, we can go on to the title page. Now, this is similar information to what we had before. You can see here that it's the stuff that we put in from here. And then there's some extra stuff like what a publisher is. If you have the publisher website, you can add it here, and a publisher logo, okay? So let's just put some information here. It doesn't matter. All right, now for the contents. This is only really relevant for ebooks. And it's basically this. It's basically links to all of the chapters in your book that will only really be relevant, of course, for digital version of your book. Now, this table of contents is automatically generated from everything you have on the left here. Okay, so if there's something that is wrong, you first need to change it in here, and then it'll automatically update the content table here. Okay, now something that I've done, and this is not necessary, but it is something I like to do, is between this title page and the contents, I like to add an actual full title page. And the way to do that is you go over here to the very left bottom, add element, and here you can see all the different elements that you might be able to add, and this is, you can do this at any point, but for now we are going to do a full page image, okay? So select full page image, and again I will show you the way I've done it for the proof copy, and that is this title page here. It's basically the font from the cover and the author name. But if you look at any traditionally published book, this is something you will see very often, is that you usually have two title pages. And since it added it at the end here, you just need to move it up where you want it. So now it's this title page followed by this, a very nice graphic title page. Now, something else that's standard that you may want is a copyright page. And again, if you go down to the bottom here, you can add element, copyright. And Vellum gives you a standard copyright, but of course do your own research and add all of the relevant text and links in here. There is one more thing that we need after the copyright. You don't need it, but I like to have that, and that is a dedication. So if you want to dedicate this book to someone, you can add it here, and that is after the copyright. Now, after the table of contents, you get into the actual chapters of the book. And as you can see, of course, it starts with chapter 1. So this is the preview for that, but there are a lot of different things that you can do to style the text how you want it. If you go up here, next to contents, you have styles. Now, these are settings for the actual text of your book. This is very important. There are preset styles. Unfortunately, there are only these styles available. So as you can see, for, let's take the heading, for example, there are only 3 styles that you can choose from. So one downside of Vellum, I'm just going to say it here, is that there's not a lot of options. That can be a downside. It can also be an advantage because there's less to choose from. And to be fair, the styles that they have chosen are indeed industry standard, and you can't really go wrong choosing any of them. However, you might find situations in which you would like some extra options. They do keep updating them, so every once in a while they will add one style here, one font here, things like that, but for the most part they are limited. So that's just something to keep in mind. There are not a million options, and again, that can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on how you look at it. But for example, you have 3 options for the header, very, very standard options, as you can see. I prefer this one, for example, but of course, depending on the genre that you're writing in, that might be different for you. Just for example's sake, we'll just choose this one. Then moving on to the first paragraph. Again, as you can see down here, there are only these options available, but again, very industry standard. I will just go with something simple and not have any crazy first paragraph styling, but again, depending on your genre, you can play around with this and find something that you like. Paragraph after breaks, if you need styling for that, Again, you kind of have the exact same options as you did for the first paragraph, so I'm just going to keep it simple. Next up, we have styling for ornamental breaks. Now, in your manuscript, you'll probably have these as hashtags, but you can, of course, style them. And as you can see here, you can also upload a custom image if what they provide here is not enough. I'm just going to go with 3 stars, which again is a pretty standard ornamental break. Then there's a couple of other options that you probably won't need for most fiction books at least, but maybe if you're writing nonfiction, you might have a use for these. So for example, if you would like to enter a quote somewhere inside your text, they have some templates for that. If you have poetry inside your text, there's templates for that. If you want to upload a photograph, again, for a nonfiction book, you can do that. An example for inserting a portrait inside your paragraphs. But since I'm writing fiction in this example, I will not insert any of these. This is for the caption underneath the image. The next important thing is headers and footers. So let's talk about that. I think this is pretty important, is something that you need in your book. At the very least, you need page numbers. And as you can see, again, it gives you certain examples. For some authors and for some genres, you want to have both the author name and the title at the header of your book, one on the left side, one on the right side. But again, it's a stylistic preference. There's no wrong or right way to do it. Just choose what works best for you and your genre. But again, something very standard. Let's just keep it with page numbers, and that's 1 page number in the middle at the bottom of your footer. And then we go to the text settings. And as you can see, again, there are not a lot of settings. For the most part, you won't need more than this. But for example, these are all of the fonts that you can choose from. Fonts are very important, but since Vellum is designed to make your books look good, you can go with any of these fonts provided here and you will be fine. There's no wrong choice here, really. Again, font style is something that depends on genre and your stylistic preference, but let's just say Palatino, for example, is a pretty standard one. We'll go with that. And as you can see, you have some extra settings here, indentation, spacing, if you want to justify text or not. I prefer justifying the text, or if you want to allow hyphenation or not. But as you can see here, not all platforms can hyphenate, so for the most part, I choose to not check this. So that is pretty much it for the styling of the actual novel. Next thing is I want to show you what if you want to upload a picture in the middle of your text. So let's say right here, I want to insert a picture for whatever reason. You can go up here, and as you can see, there are multiple settings up here. You want to upload an image and you just select an image. Let's see this one. And again, there's more options here of, how to center it. But you can play around with this. You can also insert an ornamental break. You see it inserted it here. You can insert a link, a store link. These are relevant for the end pages of your book, and I'll show you that in a minute. But yeah, you can insert lists, block quotations, anything you can think of. And of course, like I said, you can actually edit the text from here. So you can make this line bold, for example. Other things you can do here, you can add a subtitle. You can also convert this element to a different type of element if for some reason this is not a chapter and you want it to be a dedication page or an epilogue or an afterword. So that is pretty much it for the actual text of your novel. Now there are a couple of more pages that I want to go over since these are, again, pretty standard for most traditionally and self-published books. So I just want to go over those really quickly. For example, you might want to add a acknowledgements page at the end or at the beginning of your book. It can go either way, in which you write to all of the people who helped me write this book. And then you can go on naming everyone who helped you write this book. Another common element you might find is in about the author. Again, you can write something about yourself. Here you can also upload an image if you want your portrait to be at the beginning of this paragraph, and you can also add your social media links. Now, these will only be actionable on ebooks. Print books will have this information here. You can choose to hide it as well for print if you wish, but you can still keep the icons for print as well, although of course they won't be very useful because you cannot actually click on anything on real paper. What a shame. But if someone is reading your book on an e-reader or on a phone, then they can actively click on these links and it'll take them to your social media pages. As you can see down here, you can choose whether to show icons in your print edition or hide them, or show icons plus links. In case someone does want to visit your social media page, they can just see the link and then they can go into the browser and enter that themselves. And down here, as you can see, you can add more social media links. You can add a YouTube channel, you can add all of these things, Patreon. These are all fantastic resources, and as an author, you should have a lot of these social media links and you should add them at the end of your book, because some readers do actually want to know more about the author, and this is a way to build engagement from your readers. Let's say you want to add another page at the end after about the author. Now, something I wanted to show you before was a web link. Again, if this is not a social media link, let's say, for example, you want to send the reader to buy the next book in your series. If this is the first book in a series and they just finished reading it, right? And if the next book is available, why not send them to that Amazon product page so they can buy the next book in the series? And you can do that quite easily with something like this. So you can add the web link to the Amazon page for the next book in the series here. And of course, you can write some text here like, check out book 2 in the series here. Okay, something like that. And of course, you can play around with this in any way you want. But just as an example, this is something you might want to do at the end of your book. All right, so now you are happy with the content of your book. Everything is fine. You've gone through the text. Everything looks perfect. Well, now we can begin generating. So first of all, you need to click on generate right there and click save. This will just save the document. So as you can see, this will generate all files necessary for all ebook platforms, generic or print. But if you click on the 3 little dots, you can change the settings here. So if you only want to upload on Amazon, you only want a Kindle version, so you can just choose that. However, if you want both ebook and print, you have some more settings here, and that is the print settings. Now, this is an entirely different conversation about the right print settings to choose. This will depend so much on the genre that you're writing in, on the book that you've just written, how you want it to look. So please do your research for this, because I'm just going to give you an example on how you can do this in Vellum, but don't just use the settings I'm going to show you here, because it really depends on so many things and it matters more than you might think. So please make sure to do your research on this. Look at the best-selling books in your genre, measure them, take out the ruler and measure them and see the dimensions, see how small the font is, how easy that font is to read, and make your own judgments based on that. But once you're familiar with what trim size you want, then it's super easy to do in Vellum. So you can choose the print sizes here. They give you a lot of different options, but the one that I made my proof from is this. This is a standard European British edition paperback. But again, do your own research on what works best for your book. Then the next option is inside margin. So this is the space from the gutter to the actual text of your book. And again, this depends on the size of your book, how many pages it has, how thick the book is, but you want the inside margin to be large enough so that it is comfortable to read. A standard is 0.5 inches. So that is a safe one, but you can always go more. So let's just say 0.8 inches. Then the outside margin, this you can comfortably leave on auto. I think they know what they're doing, but in case you wanted to change it, you can do that, but I'm just gonna leave it on auto. Next up is the font size. Now, unfortunately, you cannot actually choose the size in numbers, and I wish Vellum provided this because I have a graphic design background. I am very aware of actual font sizes, and I would like to know what actual font size this is, because it doesn't actually say. It's just a scale. This can be 8 inches. What is it? I don't know what it is. I wish Vellum had this. If we go to an actual chapter, you can play around with this and figure out what you want. But really the best way to test this is to choose something and then order a proof copy and see it in person. See how comfortable this font size is to read, because you don't want to make it too small, but you also don't want to make it too big unless it is purposely a large print edition. For the most part, you want it to be comfortable enough to read. and it can be a little tricky what that is. So just play around with this, order some proof copies, and see what works best for you. And then another setting here is the line spacing between the lines. Again, you don't want this to be too small or too big. If in doubt, just stick with the default settings because again, Vellum knows what it's doing. Then you have a few more options here. You can select things for beginnings of chapters. So for example, first chapter begins on the right side or every chapter begins on the right side. If you want every chapter to begin on the right side, then that will use more paper. The book will be longer. It is up to you what you prefer. Then you also have some settings regarding page numbering. So if you want the numbering to start on the initial page or on the first chapter, usually you want it to start on the first chapter, but again, your mileage may vary. And then you have some settings about images if you want them in color or black and white. So that is essentially it for the settings. So once you click on OK, you are back to this screen. And again, if you want this to be for Apple as well, you can choose that. Of course, if you don't want print at all, you can just uncheck that. But for this example, we want both ebook and print. And let's say, we want everything because ideally you should be providing your book in all the different formats because that just is able to reach more people. You don't want just to target, Kobo readers or just Kindle readers because people read on multiple devices. In this example, we are generating for everything, okay? So it's very easy. You just click continue and it'll say, where it's saving it from. Let's just say we want it on desktop here. And then you click generate and look, it's generating all of the files for you. You do not have to do anything regarding that. It's awesome. So once generation is complete, you are given this page. They also give you some resources on proofing your books and how to upload to stores. But if you click on show files, it'll take you to the folder where it just saved all of the formats for you. So let's look at the Kindle. You have the Kindle cover, which is the cover that we uploaded. And you have the EPUB file and the .mobi file. And then of course for all of the other ebook providers and of course for print. So let's open this one and see what this looks like. Now of course this is in PDF form. So when you upload your book to bookstores, Amazon or Ingram Spark or anything like that, you will upload it as a PDF. So this is what you need. And look, it is the lovely lorem ipsum that we generated. Isn't it lovely? Now of course, obviously this is just an example. I think even for lorem ipsum, this looks pretty good. It is not bad. Not bad at all. So there you have it. That was everything that I wanted to show you today as to how to format a book with Vellum, both for print and ebook. I hope you found this video useful. These are all the settings that I personally use to create the proof that I showed you in the beginning. Of course, the settings will depend on the book genre that you write in and your personal preference. So please just take this as an example and as an introduction to Vellum. If you think you will self-publish more than 2 books, I think this is a good investment. It is a bit pricey, but I think having the freedom to create your own books, to format your own books, is a great thing. And I think it'll save you money in the long run. Personally, I find it really fun, so I would always choose to make my own. But of course, you are limited to the settings and styles that Vellum has chosen for you. So if you want something different, then you might be better off with a different software. But if you're not too picky and you just want something to look good and something that is easy to use, then check out Vellum. Alright, so there you have it. That was my tutorial on how I formatted this book with Vellum for print and also for ebook. So I really hope this was helpful and now you can format your own books with Vellum, or at the very least you're more interested in purchasing Vellum. And like I said before, there will be a link down in the description. Not affiliated, not sponsored. Maybe I should be. But yes, do let me know if you want more tutorials on formatting or anything else writing and publishing related down in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get to everything as far as I can and help you guys along with this, because I know in my journey I had to look up this stuff and there weren't too many resources depending on the subject, and so that's why I want to make these videos for you guys, so you will have an easier time than I did with everything, because especially self-publishing, there is so much you have to do and so much you have to research and think, and sometimes it gets a little bit too much, and so having someone lay it out for you and take you step by step I think is really useful, or at least I hope it is. I hope you think the same. But yes, I will stop rambling now. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time with a new video. Bye!